Hello and welcome or welcome back to Maggie Mumbles. My name is Maggie, and on this channel I mumble about the things that are interesting to me right now in terms of witchcraft, spirituality, and personal development, how those things overlap. Before we get into the video, please make sure that you like this video, that you are subscribed to this channel, and that you hit the bell for all notifications so that you are notified whenever I post a new video. This is Editing Maggie, and I have created two parts to a video I recorded earlier, so hopefully you've already seen part one. That's where I talked about what this video is about and the first guideline for how to have integrity in your witchcraft practice. This is part two, so this will be the second two guidelines of how to have integrity in your witchcraft practice. I think it's probably okay if you haven't seen part one, but they do kind of build on each other, so it might be better to go watch that one. So I think it's up by this corner, and so go ahead and click that and then come back and I'll see you in a minute. Otherwise, I will hand it over to Maggie from the past, who already has done this video. Number two is to live like your word is your bond. It's reminiscent of the first agreement. The first agreement is to be impeccable with your word. So the first agreement is said to be the hardest to honor, but also the most important. That's why it's first. And it's the hardest to honor because what you say and what you do and what you think become your reality. They manifest into your world. That is why it is hard to do, because you are a product of all of the things that you've said and thought and done in the past. And it's really hard to change that pattern of behavior, the pattern of thought, the pattern of speech. You may be going against this agreement without even realizing it. I mentioned that we're going to come back to this saying no thing. And this is where we'll come back to it. So if we look at that first guideline again about being flaky, being flaky is not being impeccable with your word. You feel badly about yourself when you're flaky because things don't work out because you've created this reality. So if you say you're going to do something, do it. Now that you're aware of this talking out your ass thing, now you have to agree to everything that you say that you're going to do. Unless you're going to be in an unsafe situation, you can always back out. There's obviously exceptions to this rule. Like I said at the very beginning, rules are meant to be broken. This is a guideline. Rules have exceptions. Guidelines have exceptions. But if you don't have a legitimate reason for backing out of your commitments, if you haven't broken your promise of saying yes to every single thing that you are asked to do, then you need to agree to follow through with those commitments. Because if you can follow through with these things anyway, even the things that you said yes to that you really didn't want to do or that you really didn't have time to do, if you can follow through with those things, you're going to break this habit really fast. You're going to learn to love saying no to things because it gives you so much power and freedom when you can say no to things. You're going to learn how much power a well-placed no can have really quickly. But until you learn this lesson, until you learn to say no to the things that you can't or don't want to do, you have to follow through with your word, because this is how you build that trust with people. You build integrity with other people. You build up your own self-esteem as well. You build up your confidence, because if you live like your word is your bond, and every time you agree to something, you do it whether you want to or not, eventually you'll learn to say no to those things, because it's not fun to do the things that we don't want to do or that we don't have time to do. It's not fun to have to follow through on those things. So you'll learn very quickly to say no to those things, what those things are, and how to say no to those things. I still really enjoy the 4 agreements. I think that they are very helpful for developing a worldview. So I do like the being impeccable with your word, making sure that you say things that are in alignment with what you believe and what you are going to do. Again, that's the being in integrity, everything in alignment, your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Your intention is what you want, and having everything going towards that is what's going to make that happen. This saying no thing, breaking the habit of saying yes to everything by following through with things that you've said yes to, that's a really challenging thing to do. You know, saying yes to so many things and then trying to follow through with it, it does cause burnout.
So I don't know if this is good advice. It helps to break the habit. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I like this advice, because following my own advice from this video, saying yes and trying to follow through with everything that I had said yes to, it led me to this burnout, and it wasn't fun, and I had to take a huge break in order to recover from it. It broke the habit because now I don't say yes to things, but it was really hard. So I'm not sure if there's a different way to break the habit of saying yes to things you don't want to do that doesn't lead to burnout. And if somebody has advice on that, then I would love to hear it in the comments. I think that's one way to do it, but I think a better way is to just skip that part, skip the burnout, and just start saying no to things you don't want to do or can't do or don't have time to do or whatever the reason. Or ignoring things. Sometimes I just ignore things if I don't want to deal with it. That's probably an ADHD thing too. I feel like ignoring things is in some ways it's like a boundary, depending on who it is. Obviously, don't ignore like people you really love and care about. It depends on the level of the relationship that you want to maintain. There's certain people that you don't owe that to.
Again, obviously things come up. If something's not safe and you've agreed to say yes to it just to keep yourself safe, you do not have to follow through with that thing. If you have said yes to something and then you get sick, or your kid gets sick, or your pets get sick, or even if your plants get sick, I don't know. If you have a legitimate reason for not following through, communicate it as soon as you know that you honestly can't do it. Make sure that you're as honest in this communication as possible, because it's okay to tell people when you've overextended yourself. Again, if you're sick, your kids are sick, your car breaks down, your bike breaks down, whatever it is, just make sure that this is an exception and not your rule. Because if you're consistent with the first guideline of not talking out your ass, then people should be understanding when the occasional cancellation happens. But you don't want to be the boy who cried wolf. You want to be the person who can be relied upon, who is consistent, who is trustworthy. Again, if you're being consistent with not talking out your ass, then it should be fine when these occasional things come up. So check in with yourself, make sure that you're not making excuses all the time, and that when you do have to make an excuse, it is for a very legitimate reason.
So I think that exceptions is a very important addition, that there are exceptions to the rule or the guideline, that there are times when there are legitimate reasons, and to not go overboard with making excuses and have integrity in the things that you agree to. Doing your best, which is another of the agreements. Always do your best. The caveat of that one is that your best may change from day to day, so that means that the day that you promise to do something, your best is that you're going to follow through, but later on your best might be that you can't follow through on that thing, and that is a legitimate reason to cancel. The point is that agreeing to things that you have an intention to follow through with, good. Agreeing to things that you don't plan to follow through with is bad.
And especially when you're dealing with yourself, when you are trying to keep your word to yourself, it is surprisingly easy to deceive yourself and let yourself off the hook. It's surprisingly easy to tell yourself that, oh, I don't need to meditate today, or oh, I don't need to practice witchcraft, I don't need to do that spell that I was planning, I don't need to do that ritual for the full moon. For whatever reason, you don't have enough energy, you feel like you're getting sick, whatever little excuse that you're coming up with, it's really easy to let yourself off the hook. So make sure that your BS detector is working, because you know deep down when you're lying to yourself. And when you lie to yourself, it's a big hit to your self-esteem.
See, I think that that's another one of those like undetected ADHD moments. And maybe everyone has that experience, that it's easier to lie to yourself than it is to other people.
Another way to treat your word as your bond, which is this guideline, is to stop blaming yourself and to take responsibility, because angry words are a reflection of your inner self. They come from a place of entitlement, as if you're owed something. And when your word is your bond, you'll only speak from a loving place. So you won't have a need to blame other people. You'll know when things are your own responsibility and when it's important to take responsibility for those things. And you'll only have loving things to say.
I don't know what that was. I don't know what I was saying there. I think I was talking about taking responsibility. If something comes up, you're blaming other people for the reason why you can't do that thing. Angry words are a reflection of your inner self and they come from a place of entitlement is not something that I believe in. I don't think I believe that. Angry words come from anger. I don't know what that means. That sounds like some law of attraction gibberish that I don't even know where that came from. Angry words come from anger, and that's not a reflection of yourself. That's a reflection of the fact that you are a human who experiences anger. I don't think they come from a place of entitlement. I don't think anger comes from a place of entitlement. I'm not really sure what this section is. I don't believe this anymore, so I don't really understand what I was saying. When you act as if your word is your bond, or if you speak when, I don't remember what I'm talking about. What is this? When you live like your word is your bond. What I said is that when your word is your bond, you speak from a loving place. Do I believe that? I think that you can speak with integrity. I think I agree with that. That when you live like your word is your bond, you're coming from a loving place. Because I think that you have the intention of doing the right thing, which is integrity. You have the intention of following through with your actions, which is acting in integrity. And so I think that's coming from a loving place. The part that I still disagree with is that angry words come from a place of entitlement, because I don't think that's true. Angry words come from anger. I guess I can kind of understand why angry words. I'm not really sure why. I don't know. We're just gonna skip that because I'm not really understanding why I said it in this moment. It sounds like spiritual bypassing though. There's something in you that's making you angry and you gotta let that go. That's not, you don't want that to be part of you. And I do agree that you don't want to hold on to anger, but I don't think that having angry words means that you have anger just in you. I think it just means that you felt angry and you said an angry thing.
So make sure that you're walking your talk, or at the very least talking your talk, so that you can share your authentic self with the world. Speak your truth, stop hiding your feelings, express yourself, stop fearing judgment and rejection, because the only way to create true intimacy with other people and to create these beautiful relationships and friendships is to respect your word.
I don't really understand what I'm saying. I don't even know where these things came from, because I said to speak your truth, to stop hiding your feelings, and to express yourself, but I also was disparaging angry words, and those are contradictory statements, because sometimes you are angry, and if you hide that, that's the opposite of what you just said, Maggie. I don't know. Maybe I'm just stuck on this and I'm being nitpicky of my own self, but it doesn't really make sense. So I am just gonna say that I said a thing that I don't agree with and I don't understand why I said it, and I don't know how to express why I don't know why I said it or what it means.
So there's a famous quote from Gandhi that I want to share with you that you might have heard, but it says, your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So when you choose your words carefully, they are more powerful than you think.
I do like that Gandhi quote. I think that shows the trajectory of everything being in alignment, and that leads you towards the things you want in life. And it starts with your thoughts, and eventually it leads to the end goal. And so making sure that you're thinking, the things that you believe are aligned with the things that you say you believe out loud and express to people. The way that you take action on those beliefs and the words that you're saying is also aligned, and then repeating that and developing habits, and those habits developing into the things that you value, and then eventually leading to your dreams coming true. I think that is a beautiful quote and important to remember, to think carefully, to speak carefully, to act carefully, to develop habits that you actually want, to evaluate your values. Then you'll get to the point that you want to be in your life. And I think what I said, I think speaking your truth is important, and I think not hiding your feelings is important, and expressing yourself is important, and not fearing judgment or rejection. I think all of that I said in that are good things to say. I just think it contradicted with something I had previously said in that video about the angry words being a reflection of yourself. So I got hung up on that, but I don't want it to overshadow the power of those other things that I said. I actually don't have the final video, which is about leading by example, and I don't really like that section. It's probably why I never put it on YouTube. So we're just not even gonna, well, I guess we need to talk about it because I don't agree with it, and that's the whole point. So, unfortunately, let me see, I might have it on Thinkific. See what they still have of my videos. Video library. Oh, I actually think that I have some of them in here. That's exciting. That's very exciting. Ah, here it is. Oh my gosh, I have all of them. What? What a great day. We're going to be able to react to these videos. All right, so here's this one.
And the third guideline is to lead by example. So when you're living authentically and with integrity, your walk will speak for itself. At this point, you don't need to talk your talk anymore. You can just walk your talk, and other people will understand exactly who you are and what you're about, because you are walking your talk and it is talking for you. So whatever your beliefs are, whatever your message is, whatever you want to share with the world, becomes obvious to everyone around you.
I don't know, I was saying a lot of like, not like buzzwords, but like cutesy things. This like wordplay with the walking your talk, the talking your talk. I don't know if I was feeling like if it was imposter syndrome and I was trying to appear more like professional or something like that. I try to speak a lot more plainly now. That's sort of confusing to hear those sentences and the wordplay. You know what I mean?
Because when you talk your talk, this is when you appear preachy. No one wants to hear from you. No one wants to learn from you. No one wants to buy what you're selling. This is something I learned when it came to veganism. I have friends and family members who eat a lot of meat and other animal products. They eat it in a very unhealthy way. And one of the hardest things about learning new information and knowing these things, the hardest thing is knowing when other people are ready to hear it from you or to learn it from you. So when I was learning about veganism, nobody wanted to hear about it except for other vegans, because vegans love talking about veganism to each other. But people would pick on me, people would make fun of my food. They would try to convince me that they had a better understanding of what my body needed than I did. They would say things that I knew were wrong as if they were fact, and as if they could convince me otherwise. Of course, I understand now that when it comes to diet, this is an incredibly personal and individual choice in some regards. And I understand that if you aren't ready to learn something, the brain actually shuts down in order to protect you from that new information. New information makes us feel challenged, and we react by evading or defending. So in other words, new information feels like a personal attack. This is why you can't give someone a self-help book. Even if you went through the exact same thing as them and the book helped you, the other person has to specifically ask you for it, because if you just give them this book, they'll feel like you're judging them or you're making assumptions about their life, and they'll shut down. They have to see how happy and healthy you are walking your talk and realize that maybe what you're doing can benefit them too.
Yeah, I think that that is a helpful realization, and I still live by that. Live in your life. The thing that is a little bit concerning about this to me is that it does feel like there's an agenda to it, and I don't have an agenda to the way that I live my life now. I don't know that I necessarily did then, but this is kind of implying that if you live your life, people will ask you about what you're doing, and then you can share what you're doing. I think as long as you're not doing that with an agenda of like flaunting your life or flaunting your fortune or flaunting your capabilities or whatever, if there's no agenda behind those things and people ask about what you're doing that's making you happy or whatever, that's within integrity. If you're doing it with an agenda, that's not with integrity, that's trickery. And the reason I say that is I'm just thinking of, I watch a lot of anti-MLM content. I have thought about starting to talk about MLMs on this channel because there are a lot of MLMs in the spiritual and the health and wellness space, and they use, witchcraft language and spiritual language in order to recruit people into what I believe is a scam. All MLMs, I believe, are scams, my opinion. Protective language. And a lot of the time you'll see people in MLMs flaunting their wealth or health, if they have health products, or their good hair, if it's hair care, or their good skin or whatever, showcasing that on social media in hopes that people will ask them about it so that they can sell the product and eventually recruit people into their downline. I don't think that's within integrity. But if you're just like living your life and showing off and you don't have the intention of like, I hope somebody asks me about this so that I can tell them and sell them on this thing, I think that's an integrity.
This also relates to witchcraft. Many of us have this idea of the power of positive thinking, and people think that this is a bullshit. I think it's hard for some of us when we see our partners or our loved ones who are in this cycle, this downward spiral of negative thinking. And we know that if they just turn around their thoughts, then they can create this beautiful reality for themselves. So it can be really hard to see that, but it's the same thing. You have to lead by example in that case, because people will start to see what you're doing and understand. And by leading by example, that's how you can influence them. That's how you can show them that there is power in what you think, and there is power in what you say.
So again, as long as that's done without having the agenda, as long as you're just like living your witchy life, and then if somebody happens to ask about it, and you're like, oh, it's because I've been doing witchcraft, or it's, oh, because I've been adjusting my mindset, or, you know, learning these new meditation techniques, or whatever it is that has been helping you to be more happy and healthy and whatever, that's good. But I also want to mention that the power of positive thinking is not something that I really align with. I mentioned on the podcast last week, I think, you know, the pendulum analogy where you like swing too far one way, and then in order to kind of even out, you have to swing all the way back this way, and eventually you'll kind of find yourself in the middle of like the pendulum will hang. At one point I was like way over here in the toxic positivity, and I think when I started to learn about toxic positivity, I kind of swung way far over into maybe toxic negativity. I don't know if that's a real thing. I guess it is. Of just like feeling like everything is terrible and there's nothing we can do and it's hopeless, and kind of getting into that mindset. You know, I've been swinging back and forth a little bit, and I'm starting to get more in the middle of like understanding the whole spectrum is valuable. And being in the middle, you can see the whole thing a lot easier than if you're on one end or the other. So having that pendulum hanging down the middle is a healthier place to be, and I feel like I'm approaching it. I'm not really sure where I am on the slowdown of the swing. But yeah, at this point in my journey, maybe this point is not the complete toxic positivity. That's probably like the very beginning, where I was like positive mindset, and I was following a lot of manifestation people. At the point of this video, I was still kind of in that positive mindset. And so I think that's an important thing to point out as well, is that power of positive thinking, I still feel like there is some truth to it. But I think it's really important to make sure that in order to be in that positive mindset, see the good, be optimistic, you're not just ignoring the bad. And it's like I was talking about before, maybe in the previous video, about the spectrum of emotions and how it's not really about positive and negative, it's really about pleasant and unpleasant. And sometimes things that are classified as negative emotions can actually feel pleasant.
I understand now that the information I was learning and sharing about animal agriculture and health issues, it made people feel like I was judging them on a personal level, when really all I wanted to do was share what I was learning, and I wasn't necessarily expecting them to convert to veganism. I just wanted to share. But it still comes off as a judgment, because when you're talking about something that someone else does in a negative way, obviously they feel like that's a personal attack. So because our opinions and our actions, they become really tied into our own identities. And when someone presents an alternative, we just feel as if who we are as a person is being attacked, rather than just this idea that isn't tied to us. You know, your opinions aren't who you are. Your opinions can be changed. It's just really hard.
So all of that I was talking about when you are presented with new information and your brain shuts down, that a lot of people are tied to their opinions. and if their opinion is attacked, it feels like a personal attack because they're so tied up with the things they believe in.
So I definitely still share with my family, my friends, and obviously with this group sometimes, the things that I've learned, and I sometimes probably still get a little bit preachy, but I recognize that there is more power in walking the talk than there is in talking the talk. Talking the talk is for you. It helps you to gain confidence in yourself and your beliefs. It helps you to learn what you know and who you are. But if you're wanting to convince others, or if you're wanting to spread that with anyone else, walking your talk is how you convince others that you might have a bit of knowledge that they could benefit from. It's how you spread love. It's how you spread joy in the world. People don't want to be told, hey, just be happy. They want to learn it as if it were their idea. When you walk your talk, people can see the results of your words, your actions, and your thoughts. They can see the results of what your talk is without having you talk at them. So if you walk your talk enough, you don't have to talk your talk anymore. You never have to talk your talk. Your walk will do the talking for you. People don't want to be told what to do. People want to think that it was their own idea. People want to think that they came up with it themselves. People want to feel like they came up with something all their own, or that they're the first one in their group of friends to have done this. So they don't want you to tell them what to do. They want to feel like it was their own idea. So lead by example. Don't be the do as I say, not as I do type of person as well. Make sure that you are walking your walk as well. Become a beacon of light and walk your talk.
I think one thing that's important to recognize about that video is the key moment of if you want other people to follow your example. Because I remember a few comments on this video about, well, I don't really care if other people do what I do. Like, I don't really want to be a leader or an influencer or anything like that. And so I think that this piece is only if you want other people to follow along with what you're saying. And that might not be everybody. I'm not even sure if I want that anymore. I don't know if I did then, but I present this stuff to people in hopes that it helps. I like talking about these ideas and these philosophies and these beliefs. It helps me to understand them myself because I enjoy talking and I enjoy, hearing, I enjoy hearing myself talk. That's why I have a YouTube channel. But I'm not really expecting anybody to like follow me or do exactly what I do. It's more about the discussion for me at this point and what I can learn from others as well through presenting ideas like this and how people respond to that. Leading by example is the way to influence people if that's your goal, rather than preaching. I think the biggest key with this is the alignment. That has been kind of the theme throughout this video. Your thoughts align with your intention, your words align with your intention, your actions align with your intention. Everything is in alignment with what you hope to see in the world and to see in your life and to experience. And so that's the key. The walking your talk, the talking your talk, the talking your walk, the whatever things I'm saying. I think the key is that everything's in alignment and just reflecting and making sure that that's the case. That when you do something, is this in alignment with the thing that I am working toward? When you're speaking to somebody else, just reflecting on, is this conversation in alignment with what I hope to see in this relationship? And when you're thinking things to yourself, when you're meditating or when you're, thinking about the things you're doing, taking a moment to analyze whether those thoughts are in alignment with what you want to see in the world and in your life. I think that's really the underlying thread, is alignment. All right, so thank you again for going on this journey with me. I'm so excited that we found the videos. I mean, I did it. I'm gonna take credit for it because I was the one. But I'm glad that you were here with me for it. That the videos are here and I can react to them. I can actually show you the videos because that's way more interesting than me just like reading what it was and then telling you what I think about it. I love actually being able to watch myself. And I also think it's really interesting observing if I've changed. Obviously, like I said, these old videos look like they were filmed on a potato. And part of the reason that they might not be that good, though, is because they were through Facebook Live. And it's just like poor quality because it went through a live. Anyway, that's all besides the point. I'm very tired now, kind of exhausted. The sun is going down. It is getting darker in this room, so it's time to say goodbye. Thank you for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you're enjoying this series, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!